Hello and welcome to this MBL seminar dealing with the topic of jurisdiction in consumer contracts. This is a bite-sized session intended to give a brief overview and introduction to the key provisions of jurisdiction when dealing with or acting on behalf of consumers. This short webinar is going to cover the following key aims. Firstly, an overview of the key considerations as to applicable law and jurisdiction. Process of contracting out of the jurisdiction of the Courts of England and Wales, out the other regions of the United Kingdom, the relevant legislative and regulatory provisions and requirements applying to jurisdiction in consumer contracts, common situations and pitfalls, especially jurisdictional pitfalls that a practitioner may come across, and practical guidance and top tips for dealing with and avoiding issues of jurisdiction in consumer contracts. In particular, the focus of this session will be the drafting of and also the ex post facto analysis of business to consumer or B2C contracts with UK-based consumers. Now, before diving into complex issues of jurisdiction, it's first important to analyse what makes up a consumer contract in a B2C environment, to consider whether the consumer protections even apply. Now, one of the key pieces of authority governing jurisdiction in consumer contracts is the Civil Jurisdiction and Judgments Act 1982, as amended by Statutory Instrument 2019/479, and in particular Section 15E. Now, the Act sets out three scenarios in which a contract will be a consumer contract for the purposes of the jurisdictional application of its provisions, being, firstly, a contract for the sale of goods on instalment credit terms, and secondly, a contract for a loan repayable by instalments or for any other form of credit made to finance the sale of goods, and thirdly, a contract which has been concluded with a person who either pursues commercial or professional activities in the part of the United Kingdom where the consumer is domiciled, or alternatively, by any means, directs such activities to that part or other parts of the United Kingdom, including the part as which falls within the scope of the activities. Now, in essence, the latter provision is a contract with a trader, which most of us in consumer practice will be fully aware of. Now, put simply, a consumer, for the purposes of defining a consumer contract, is an individual or natural person who concludes the contract for a purpose which can be regarded as outside of that person's trade or profession. Now, note, a consumer can only be an individual or natural person, and that means that a limited company or partnership can never be a consumer for the purposes of consumer protection.